Private jet route cost sounds like it should be simple. Same route, same passengers, same day. So why do the quotes look different? Here is the answer. Because same route does not always mean the same trip. And if you compare private jet charter quotes without understanding that, you can make a very expensive decision with very little real information. If you want calm, practical private jet charter guidance, subscribe to JetMaster. This channel is for serious charter buyers who want clarity, control, and fewer amateur mistakes. In a moment, I'm going to show you the 5 route variables that can make 2 quotes for the same trip look completely different. And I'll show you what to ask before you trust the number. Let's be blunt. A route is not just a line on a map. That is how casual buyers think. They say, I need to fly from New York to Miami. Then they expect every quote to behave the same way. That is lazy thinking. The route matters, but the route is only the surface. The real cost is built from the aircraft, the airports, the timing, the availability, the crew plan, and the operational assumptions behind the quote. So when you see 2 different prices for what looks like the same route, do not immediately assume one provider is honest and the other is expensive. Maybe that is true, but maybe they are not quoting the same operational reality. Point 1. Where is the aircraft before your trip? This is one of the most important route cost questions. The aircraft may not already be sitting at your departure airport. It may need to reposition. That means it has to fly from somewhere else to pick you up. That movement can affect the quote. Sometimes a higher hourly rate aircraft nearby can produce a better total price than a lower hourly rate aircraft that has to move into position. That is why hourly rate alone can mislead you. Route cost is not just about your passengers in the cabin. It can also include what has to happen before your passengers arrive. Here's a simple example. You want to fly from Teterboro to Miami. One aircraft is already near Teterboro, another aircraft is in another state. A third aircraft has a later trip that lines up nicely with your return. Those 3 options may all serve the same route, but they may not price the same way. The aircraft position changes the math. A serious buyer asks, where is the aircraft coming from? Is repositioning included? Is the aircraft already local? And does this quote assume a one-way movement or a more efficient aircraft schedule? Those questions matter. Point 2. The airport pair can change the trip. Most people think in city names, New York to Miami, Los Angeles to Las Vegas, London to Nice. But private aviation does not operate only in city names. It operates through specific airports. An airport choice can change cost, timing, convenience, and aircraft fit. New York is not just New York. You might be looking at Teterboro, Westchester, Farmingdale, or another airport depending on the mission. Miami is not just Miami. You may be comparing Miami International, Opa-locka, Fort Lauderdale, or another nearby field. Each airport can have different handling, access, runway, traffic, fees, and operational behavior. The closest airport is not always the smartest airport. Sometimes the closest airport saves ground time. Sometimes another airport gives better aircraft availability. Sometimes one airport creates a cleaner passenger experience. Sometimes a different airport changes the quote. This is why you should never compare route quotes unless you know the exact departure airport and arrival airport being assumed. If one quote uses Teterboro and another uses Westchester, you are not comparing the same thing. If one quote uses Opa-locka and another uses Miami International, you need to understand why. That is not detail for aviation nerds. That is buyer protection. Point 3. Aircraft category changes route cost. This is where many buyers get themselves into trouble. They think the route is the main decision, but aircraft fit can be just as important. A light jet, mid-size jet, super mid-size jet, and heavy jet may all be technically possible on some routes, but they do not deliver the same experience. They do not carry the same luggage. They do not offer the same cabin comfort. They do not handle the same range, weather, passenger count, and runway requirements in the same way. A cheaper aircraft can become the wrong aircraft, and the wrong aircraft is not a bargain. If your route creates a fuel stop, the quote may look cheaper at first, but cost you time and comfort. If your group has too much luggage, the aircraft may be a poor fit. If the runway is limiting, the aircraft choice may narrow. If the passengers expect to work, sleep, or travel with family, cabin fit matters. This is why, can this aircraft fly the route is not enough. That is the minimum question. The better question is this aircraft the right fit for this charter trip? A serious buyer does not choose the cheapest aircraft that technically works. He chooses the aircraft that fits the mission without wasting money on the wrong capability. Point 4. Timing changes route cost. Private aviation gives you more control, but control still has operational rules behind it. Aircraft have schedules. Crews have duty limits. Maintenance windows exist. Airport hours may matter. Weather can matter. Late night or early morning timing can matter. If your schedule is tight, unusual, or changing, the quote may change. If the aircraft has to wait for you, that can matter. If the crew needs overnight accommodations, that can matter. If the return pushes against duty limits, that can matter. If your departure time requires a different aircraft or crew plan, that can matter. This is where casual buyers get frustrated. They say, it is the same route. Why is the price different? Because the schedule is different. A morning departure with a same-day return is not always the same operational plan as an evening departure with a next-day return. A flexible trip is not the same as a hard deadline. A leisure trip with flexible timing is not the same as a board meeting where missing the arrival window is unacceptable. When you request a quote, timing is not a small detail. It is part of the product. Point 5. One-way and round-trip assumptions can change everything. This is one of the biggest sources of confusion. A buyer may think, I only need one way, so it should be cheaper. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If the aircraft can continue to another paid trip, a one-way may price well. If the aircraft has to return empty, reposition, or sit waiting, the economics change. A round trip can sometimes be efficient if the aircraft and crew can wait. But if the gap is too long, waiting may create costs. If the return is days later, the aircraft may not simply sit there for free. Again, the route is not just the route. It is the aircraft plan around the route. That is why empty legs can look attractive, but also fragile. That is why one-way pricing can surprise people. And that is why a quote should explain the assumption, not just give you a number. Now let's talk about how to compare private jet route cost correctly. Do not ask only, what is the price? Ask, what aircraft is being quoted? Where is the aircraft positioned before departure? Is repositioning included? Which airports are assumed? How many passengers and how much luggage are assumed? Is this one-way or round-trip pricing? How long is the aircraft expected to wait? Are crew expenses included? What timing assumptions could change the final number? And what makes this option better or worse than the other quote? That is how you compare quotes like an adult. Not by staring at two totals and guessing which one feels friendlier. A cheap quote with unclear assumptions is not a win. It is a risk. A more expensive quote with clean assumptions may be the better charter decision, or it may not be, but at least you can compare it properly. That is the standard. If the quote does not explain the moving parts, you are not comparing options. You are comparing confusion, and confusion is expensive in private aviation, especially when the trip actually matters. Now, if you want help getting this structure right before you request or compare private jet charter quotes, the free 10-day JetMaster private jet charter course is linked in the description and pinned comment. It is designed for serious buyers who want to understand the decision before they start approving options. No pressure, no fake luxury theater, just the details that help you charter smarter. In the next video, I'm going to show you private jet aircraft fit and how to avoid choosing the wrong jet. Because once you understand route cost, the next mistake is assuming any aircraft that can fly the route is good enough. It is not. And don't forget, your JetMaster journey starts now.